Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast 139, and I hope you're all having an amazing weekend so far. And anyone in the US who traveled for the holidays, hope you had a beautiful time visiting some friends and family. Remember, always be grateful for your people. So we're going to be speeding through this one today a little bit quicker than last week. Of course, we had a epic live stream Red Pill podcast where I went over my entire investment thesis, my portfolio, and my outlook over the next couple months in this market. I would like to make this one a little bit quicker, not only because we spent so much time breaking down everything thoroughly last week, but I am also visiting some family this week, and I need to do my best to prioritize the very little amount that I have with them. So I hope you guys are doing incredible. We're going to be moving straight into this one today. Just a quick update because I had a lot of people reaching out to me about this. The Black Friday sale that I'm doing is still running. It'll be going for the next 24 hours, moving into Cyber Monday. Remember, as Patreon supporters, which you all are, you get the biggest discount, which is about 25% off. It's actually better than the promo code that's shared here. It's at WatersAbove.com/Black Friday, and you'll be using the promo code Patreon Black Friday, all one word, all lowercase. You'll also find it in the description of this video and in the comment below. So I don't want to spend any more time on that. I shared this discount already, but I just wanted to let people know that I've extended it into the weekend and past because we had some people reaching out to me telling me that they were traveling during this holiday weekend. They missed out on it, and this gives people an opportunity to get in. So I appreciate and I'm so grateful for all the continued support. I know that these courses will be a part of the transformation that we're all experiencing moving into 2024, and it really means the world to me to be a part of your process, truly. So also, just a quick reminder, if you are new to the Wolfpack, welcome. It's so great to have you here with us. Remember, if you'd like to get Discord server access, you're going to need to send me a direct message here on Patreon with your Discord username, and I will reply back to you with a Discord invite through a Patreon message. Please don't email me. Please don't comment below. Can't help you out that way. This is the only way to do it, and the instructions I just shared are also in this post. And we did amazing with the coin voting over the past couple weeks for our altcoins that I review in these episodes. But since last week, we went over, I believe it was almost 20 projects. We did miss out on the voting. So what I did was I combined the top votes, 50% from 2 weeks ago and 50% from the last podcast I just released. And it got us Quant, Telcoin, WadsPay, and XYO. I'll also be going over the stock market this week since we did not go over it last week. That's important. So we'll be doing a stock market analysis on the Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ. I will also like to quickly check in on the DXY, the US dollar currency index, and as usual, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Been having a lot of people wondering about XRP, and I've been sharing more updates than ever about this. So I hope that you guys are now seeing the way that this project moves and why it's not really worth getting so worried about these small movements in price, not only on XRP, but any project, because the upside opportunity that we're looking at into this time next year is very dramatic compared to the, kind of pulling out our hair about 5% moves on an altcoin going to the downside right now. So I really hope that as a wolf, you've locked into this truth that you have to go against the herd, and any pullback at this time is an opportunity. We're at this phase of the bull run where it's important to take action. And for those that are sitting around for some arbitrary perfect bottom, it doesn't work that way. Even if you had a perfect limit order set where it did swipe through those levels, it doesn't even mean that the exchange is going to pick up all your contracts. Remember, we're in the wild, wild west right now, and these projects are very volatile, especially when we're talking about altcoins. So you need to do your due diligence, buy a little bit higher than what you think, make sure to dollar cost average over time. And I'm just sharing my personal investments and when I de-risk with you guys for transparency. It's not for copying. It's not for you mimicking what I do. I'm here to make you all self-reliant, That is what's the beauty of this community. I've already positioned myself effectively in 70% of my portfolio. So with this other 30% that I have on the sidelines, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to let this market come to me. I'm just sharing this right now at the beginning of this podcast because we've been having a lot of people lately making comments in the Discord asking if I should buy now or what should I do? And it's not the best question. Okay. Now I know this is tough. This is not a sexy thing to talk about, but this is what's going to make our community have more utility, be more impactful, and just to provide the most value across all members. These are not effective questions. Asking if I should buy now is not helpful. All right. You already know the answer to it. If you're asking the question, you should probably be taking the action. And worrying about this perfect opportunity it's really getting the best of some people. So we speak like this today so that in 8 months from now, you're going to be elite level investor. You're not going to be asking that question, and you're going to look back at yourself the way you were 8 months ago, and you're going to say, I can now see why Waters was telling me this. Because there is no perfect bottom, there is no perfect top, there's just action. And where will you be at? Are you the one that's taking action? Or are you the one waiting for something that's perfect? It's the same thing happens to artists. A lot of artists never share their art with the world or never even get going on their art because they have perfectionism syndrome. Don't let that happen to you. Remind yourself that it's the action in and of itself that is perfect. And what is imperfect about that action you took is what you'll refine. And that was actually the thing that was perfect about it. Because what was imperfect was what was unique. Remember I said that. Okay, let's move into this podcast. Again, I appreciate every single one of you. We went over the voting instructions on the altcoins, I believe. If you missed out on that, it's just to submit a comment below this post here on Patreon with the name of the crypto and the ticker symbol. As long as it has at least a year worth of data to look at on TradingView, and whatever gets the most votes on those projects, the most thumbs up, the most hearts on the submission, we will be using those in next week's podcast. And now we're back on track. I hope everyone enjoyed last week. It was an epic 2.5 hour long podcast. We went over so much stuff. So I'm going to hold off on talking about those projects moving forward. And if you want any updates, you'll be seeing those in the what I'm buying and what I'm selling, because I'll probably be slowly accumulating those between now and the Bitcoin halving. So getting into this upcoming weekly close in the crypto market is very important. Not only is it a weekly candle, but it's a 5-day, a 3-day, all closing on the same day. So we have a weekly candle, 5-day candle, 3-day candle, obviously also a daily. This is big. And we're just moments away from the monthly close. You guys know we're a year out from election time. There's a lot that's going to go on between now and then. We kind of prefaced what we see happening into Q1 of next year. I'll be talking about it a little bit actually later when I get into the Bitcoin analysis specifically, but I just wanted to let you all know that today is a very powerful day. So expect volatility even with the traditional markets being closed up until a little bit later today. Now, when we have CME open, so we'll have Chicago Mercantile Exchange open for Bitcoin, Ethereum. Also, we'll be having the Dow Jones open, precious metals, and Forex a little bit later, right before our weekly close candle comes in for the crypto market. That could be a lot of volatility as well. So when this gets released, between time of release and between closure tonight, we could definitely see a lot go down. Even as we film this, we could see a lot of volatility in this market. So remember, we are less than 24 hours away from the full moon. And this November full moon is, it's elusive. We have a lot of things always happen in the month of November. It's a time frame for ritual. We've seen over the past week that's been proven. We typically see a full moon energy for about 5 days after or 5 days before. Right now, since we're getting very close to the full moon, we can anticipate 5 days forward, which would be December 1st. And we've been talking about this for the past couple weeks now, along with a powerful decode tied to the Hebrew calendar, which I won't get into today since I've already covered that in recent videos. You could also check out the last Red Pill podcast near the beginning when I shared the decode. If you haven't tuned into that, everything you need to know is in that last podcast. And just a reminder of a date I believe I've brought up a couple times, but I just want to add some extra connections. It would be the 29th of November. And this 29th of November tied to Satoshi Nakamoto's last birthday, including the end date, gives you 239 days. This is the 52nd prime number. This is a very important number for this year because we're in the year of the rabbit, the Chinese lunar year. We got that 52. And we also are talking about cryptocurrency, which gives you 52 in Chaldean, and the mirror of 52 being 25, and that you get in crypto right there in the same cipher. Also, the most important of this market, the ticker symbol of Bitcoin, which is the sun of this market. Well, it's the power plant, the energy. You get the 25 there with BTC. So just consider this stuff, guys. Very powerful number. And we're here up until about the next 3 months. Then we'll be moving into the year of the dragon. So I just wanted to share this because not only do we have the number 52 tied to the gematria of it all, but we have the date connection to Satoshi's birthday, which also landed on a 52 double-digit date numerology. Super powerful stuff. This also happens to be the 333rd day of the year, which naturally transitions into the day day after transition of 33 days left in the year. So we have this 33 moving into the 333. This would be your master number of 33, number of transmutation, number 333, the ascended master. So again, we already knew about that. That's Gregorian though, not as powerful. What I believe is the powerful connection is just the dates between Satoshi's birthday and this particular date coming up. This is just a little bit of icing on the cake. Now, naturally, when we're moving into the next day, I find this to be something to consider. Naturally, 240 days apart. That 24, I believe we need to really start paying attention to right now. That's the 24. You remove the 0 in the rules of numerology. We know we're in the Hebrew year of 5784. We got that 24. We're talking about Satoshi's birthday. Satoshi gives you that 24. I went over this in my last video as well. Well, I exposed in that last video the significance of the number 24 between the SEC coming after Binance for Binance US, and then 24 weeks later coming after Kraken. Exactly 24 weeks later. All around this time frame, Binance settled with the US Justice Department. And like right after I released that video, CZ stepped down from Binance. So it's like, what the crazy, right? So CZ steps down from Binance on the same day as the settlement. So we know something fishy is going on here. And for anyone who's sketched out about Binance or Binance.us at this time, listen to your intuition. If you don't feel right leaving your coins on that exchange or any exchange, then of course consider moving them onto a hardware wallet, which is always advised. And since I get asked this question so often, the hardware wallet that I personally use is a Ledger Nano X, which is bought directly from Ledger's official website, not from a third-party retailer, for security purposes. And it's been serving its purpose since I bought it around 4 years ago. So I know that there's been FUD that's come out over the past, 6 months or so regarding Ledger, but I think it was overblown up, the FUD. I mean, I know it was over because it was done on purpose. It was timely to get a reaction in the markets. And it's a ritual against Ledger. But people need to understand that all of these technocratic companies, everything that's going on here is to be known by the secret intelligence agencies that run this realm. I know this is hard for a lot of people. Everyone thinks that they know some sort of truth, but it's a slippery slope. When you think of privacy and you also talk about the internet simultaneously, I mean, come on, guys. We all know better. If you think VPNs are keeping you private, it's like, no. The VPNs were created by the same beast to get the data. It's all by design to make people think they're safe, to make you think of there's some sort of better place to be on the internet. No, that's not how this works. Everything is by design through optics. It's an illusion of freedom. It's an illusion of safety. It's an illusion of you think you know. But you must practice this discernment of there must be a deeper truth here. Now, this isn't me being a defeatist or saying that, You know, I don't let any of this stuff bother me at all. That's actually more the response that I would want people to consider having when it comes to this kind of stuff, such as the Ledger FUD. And that Ledger stuff came out because of them allowing a custodial service. And of course, in this case, it would be you giving up your access to your private keys. And we all know that this is already kind of the same thing as what a exchange does. And this will also be the thing when we have crypto banks. When these start to roll out in the mainstream for retail, these crypto banks are basically saying that you allow us to be a custodian of your private keys, right? So I'm just saying that I don't believe in any of the FUD. I don't believe in any of the stuff that people usually buy into regarding FOMO. I just stay neutral in all of this. I don't let any of it affect me. So with all of that being said, I am almost certain that there are many other great alternatives to Ledger. I'm not sponsored by Ledger or by any company for that matter. I could fucking care less about this stuff. I'm just letting you know what I use. I'm not picking sides here. Although I have a Ledger, there's probably a better company. There's probably a company that you resonate with more. That's on you. You should always follow your intuition. And the same thing goes with what's going on right now with Binance. So I've recently started to reveal that I no longer use Binance.us for purchasing. I've decided to move on to other places. Right now I'm using Gemini and Coinbase, but I'm using institutional accounts. The purpose that I do that is because of just upgrading and trying to get to a better posture with these technocrats. And I believe that might be the safest avenue moving forward if there was anything to go down. That's kind of weird here. So I'm just doing it out of protection. It's like the same reason of having a business bank account versus having like a small credit union. See, people have been sold that credit unions are somehow safer, but I don't believe that at all. I believe that the too big to fail banks will be buying out all those credit unions when they fail. So I always kind of look the opposite of even a lot of the conspiracy types. You know, a lot of these truthers and the conspiracy types, they've come up with these, really intricate strategies where they think that they've kind of like nailed this so-called truth. And I think that right there could be dangerous sometimes. So I'm not telling you to support the big banks. I'm not telling you to support Ledger. I'm not telling you to support any of this. Again, what I am preaching is for you to listen to your intuition. So I hope these words of wisdom are useful for you in your journey. And getting back to this code, another thing I was considering was this upcoming solar eclipse on April 8th. We've been talking about this a lot because that'll be our third solar eclipse in the solar cycle when things tend to get really spicy. So I want us to take this into consideration because we'll be tying the same date that we were just talking about a moment ago to the 8th. And one moment, family. So we have, not including the end date, from this date to next year, April 8th, the solar eclipse being 131 days apart. And why this could be powerful is because this date specifically leaves 32 days left in the year, and 131 is the 32nd prime number. So we have two connections to the same number between those two dates. 32 is actually powerful because it's the encroaching number into the key master number 33. Essentially, 32 leads into 33. It's the path to 33. It's part of the process of mastery. And right before when you're like on the cusp of moving into the number, that's where the power starts to really build up. So consider numbers to operate as such. The number 10 moving into 11 master number, the number 21 moving into 22 master number. Consider this. This is where numerology and all this stuff starts to have utility. And lastly, connecting the powerful upcoming Chinese lunar year that we're all talking about more than ever lately because we're getting super close to it. We have that year of the dragon starting on the 10th of February, 2024. And this is going to be 73 days apart. Now, 73 is powerful here because it's the 21st prime number. And we talk a lot about this number 21 here, tied back to Saturn being 21. And Saturn is Satoshi, the creator of blockchain. One moment. All right, I had to sneeze and I did not want to do that into the microphone. And remember a moment ago, I was speaking about the master number 22 and the encroaching number, and we have that 21 moving into 22, so that's definitely something. And in the year of the dragon, we have that 22 in Chaldean, super important to consider. But getting back to the 73 days apart to the year of the dragon, and to get a little bit more esoteric here, 21, 21st prime out of the 73, and 21 is 2 ones, which is 11. You have your 11 date numerology right there. So just consider that. This could definitely be something that adds even more emphasis to the power of this date of November 29th. One more second. I also forgot to tell people, make sure to get some tea or coffee if it's the morning time, or a glass of vodka or scotch or whatever. I'm drinking some water. I totally forgot. It's like, how am I going to do an hour-long podcast without some water? So 1 second, I should just quickly take a sip before my throat gets overworked. All right. No more distractions. So quickly wrap this up, and then we're going to be moving on. We have that 73, the 21st prime, this 21 number tied back to Saturn, and the 2 ones, 21, 2 ones, 11. Okay, so we are also talking about the Year of the Dragon, and of course I'll have the full Year of the Dragon Decoded releasing here on Patreon right after the new year, so stay tuned for that. It's just a couple weeks away, actually. It's 2 months. Or less than 2 months, excuse me, because I will have that out before the Year of the Dragon actually starts, just to kind of prep everyone. It's the same thing I did last year with the Year of the Rabbit. Now, we're just 3 days away from this key date that I'm talking about, November 29th, and you can pretty much consider this entire upcoming week as important, the 40th week of the year being a transition week as we move into December. And this is probably the perfect time to get into the charts and review what's been going on over the past couple weeks in the stock market, since we weren't able to review it last week. And there's been plenty of decoding that I shared in my last video that you guys can consider. I don't want to spend too much time here on our decode. So we're going to be starting off with the Dow Jones. This is unbelievable what we're seeing right now. So it's pretty wild how the stock market has been moving off of this last FOMC, and we're moving into the next FOMC meeting in a couple weeks. I believe it's on December 13th. I might be very close to that date. And the chop structure of this chart is really wild. I mean, it's all over the place. And the fact that we've gotten bought up effectively into our yearly high within like pretty much right there is a sign that this whole move down here into late October was an absolute fake out. And we've talked before about the date of November 24th through December 1st, moving into the Year of the Dragon as a crucial time frame for our last pullbacks. And in all iterations, I showed you guys this, like 80 years of iterations, we've had those lows. So this is a very odd time. I mean, the only thing that I could consider as similar is the low that happened on a Friday at the end of October. That we already discussed, but that was, now it seems so long ago. It was about a month ago. And none of us here are really worried about what the stock market is doing. We're just using it as somewhat of a gauge. Now, what I don't like that we're seeing on the stock market is it's already gotten overheated again. We're back into overbought on the RSI and the daily. I mean, it's like a parabolic move that we've had over the past 3 weeks. Something's got to give. So with the market opening up in a little bit, it'll be interesting to see how that all goes down. Having a last minute kind of shakeout move would not be weird. And then we also have this major trend line that's been in play. This white trend line, I believe, is going back, wow. I mean, effectively since the 80s, if we really wanted to align things. But then we had it built off of this 2007, 2008 subprime mortgage crisis moment. And it was a bounce point pretty much on every single correction we've had. Even during the C19 crisis, we got below it, but we gravitated right back to it and then started using it as a support before making all-time highs. Also, lately, you can see the interaction with this white trend line over and over and over again. And every time that we go below it, it's one of the best buying opportunities in the stock market. So this isn't to show you the absolute bottom. It's to just give you an idea of overbought versus oversold and when opportunities are here. That's how I like to do my trend lines, actually. I don't like to look at trend lines so much as perfect supports or perfect resistances. There's a point to macro trend lines where you kind of just want to get a feel for, okay, this is broken below. Is this a good time to accumulate? And the same thing is when we start to break above, measuring the distance breaking above to see where it starts to get overheated based on RSI to the move. You could consider percentages and fibs, of course. And that could be very helpful for swing trades. So I know what I said was a little bit kind of difficult for maybe some, but again, I do have the sale over on my advanced trading course right now for those that want to get a little bit more fancy with this market and want to start playing the market more frequently, let's just say. More for swing traders or people that are trying to get a little bit more active, you know? Okay, getting back to this. We can see week after week, 4 weeks straight of green candles. This is a very wild move to see unfold after, already being quite, let's just say, unbelievable rally that we've had into July. But we do know that we were in the Jubilee year. So throughout the Jubilee year, it was a release of energy. And that's something we definitely have talked about in the past. And now moving forward, we did get our post-Jubilee correction so far. If we look at the amount of this move, let's see, it was about almost 10%. On this move over here, we got almost the same, about 9.5. On this move right here, a little bit deeper, about 16. We can see that these 9 to 10% moves are actually quite normal. So that could very well be just the short-term bottom and then have a little bit of release into the end of this year, maybe cool off a little bit. And then, what we've shown in the past is Q1 of 2024, Q1 of the year of the dragon, typically pretty solid. Now, I have one thing to share though, and I'll get to it after we look at the S&P. So the S&P essentially mimicking perfectly what we've had on the Dow. We've talked about this horizontal line before and how about a year of rejections until we broke above it and then back tested it. This is a very clean back test. And if we were to start breaking this level over here and get closer to the 888, that would confirm that that's your higher low 100%. So you'd have low, higher low, higher low. Effectively, this would become one of the most significant levels for the S&P moving into the next year and for years to come, just because of that setup. So we would want to look to the 0.5 fib or about 4,100 as a very crucial level for the S&P. If we were to break below it in the future, that would enter bear market vibes. For now, we're in bull zone. All right, so we have the NASDAQ has effectively broken into a new yearly high. Unbelievable. We're within, 3%? See, look at that, 4.5% to all-time high. That's really wild. This market is a joke. So here's what I wanted to share. This is concerning. This tells me that we might be moving up heavy into Q1 and then have a pretty big pullback. And that aligns with what I've already shared with you guys about the Bitcoin chart and my idea of us moving heavy into March, maybe the very, very beginning of April, but let's just call it the start of Q2. I look into the March timeframe. Let me actually pull up when the full moon is, when the new moon and full moon are going to be. So we're looking at March 10th. It's a little bit, but there, okay, yeah, then of course we have the solar eclipse. All right. Keep that in mind. By March 15th, that time frame, I do think Bitcoin will be getting close to that 47, 48K, vibe. And we might get there sooner. Of course, this market could go really, fast to the upside, especially when we're talking about crypto. But if we start to see the NASDAQ, in January, start to break all-time high, and then we start to see Bitcoin heading into that 45, 44 and higher, that really solidifies that I think we're going to move up heavy into March and then be followed by a noticeable pullback. So I'll keep track of that over time. And now you guys have the theory, not only for the Bitcoin market, the crypto market, but also for the stock market. Okay, let me get over to the DXY really quickly, see what's up. All right, cool. So we had this major trend line rejection up here. By the way, we're looking at weekly candles. We had about 4 weeks or 1 month rejections here. Magnetic back to it, rejection, magnetized back to it, rejection. And then again, we finally broke out. So since the back test, it took almost a year. Now we're gravitating right back to that level. So this actually would not be weird if we made it back here, back tested, like this, and then bounced. Now, I don't know how that could all play out, the timing of it. I don't want to get too, but it could be like that. And April, come back up to June, and then come back down heavy again, something like that, and then play out like an M pattern. And then we could effectively see this back testing the trend line into Q4. Before having some noticeable pullback into the end of next year. That's a 1 year play. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but it kind of gives you the idea of what I see unfolding. So obviously as the DXY chops lower, that's because of the stock market going higher. You guys know this. Getting rejected through this point right here was big because this showed me a false rally fake out, which actually, again, still supports the thesis of a bullish 2024. So that's good. Let's look at this chart. Ooh, okay, beautiful. So we effectively have ooh, this is great. Okay, I forgot about this chart. I'm really happy that we're looking at it. I have a fib pulled from this swing high in January 2017 to this swing low of February 2018, and this is a perfect Wyckoff. So we have over here your buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally, rejection down into like a spring vibe, followed by an SOS, and then we're currently in a backup phase. The only thing I would say about this SOS is, to me, because it hit the 1618, that's probably as high as it goes for now. That could be the top until like late 2025. We're talking about the DXY right now. This shit takes time. Also, look at this chart we have. This is really zooming out. We're going back to 1985. Rejection. Now we've broken above it. And then this back test followed by this break higher is absolutely a trigger that we're in an even bigger Wyckoff. So let me show you here. Buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally, spring, clean spring. That's as low as this is ever going. The housing market crash. Okay, so this is very, very clean. And then having this breakout now, we effectively need to surpass this range to call it a SOS. And we're talking about a huge Wyckoff schematic. So that could effectively be broken during the year of the snake, moving into the end of 2025 for sure. And guess what that means? That means we could start seeing crazy DXY numbers, almost like depression-like in the stock market. And why that wouldn't be weird to me is because if you look at the stock market right now, if we just look at the NASDAQ, dude, this is incredible. From here in 2008, this shit has moved up 1,500%. This is not sustainable, guys. This is insane. So sure, maybe we move up a little bit more for the stock market, but then I think we're going to see a very big correction. Let's look at the S&P. Look at this. Jeez Louise. It's a forever bull run. This is why nobody should have ever gotten into 401ks and all that. You just invest in the stock market over all of that time. Look. 4,000%. Good grief. Like it's no altcoin, but shit, I mean, it's much better than being in a 401k and then having daddy government pay you back lunch money when you're 70, right? I'm not trying to make jokes here. If anyone is in these instruments, it's not a joke. It's to reveal alternative way of perceiving things, and hopefully you start to be more risk on with the opportunity. But guess what? When you're also in 401ks and the market crashes, you're still fucked, right? So it's like, it's a messy thing. I'd rather be a custodian of my own money every time. So we've been on a huge rally in this market, and this C19 correction is way too quick. I do suspect that us moving up one more time would probably look like this right here. We go up a little bit more. Maybe we slightly break our new all-time high, but then we get a long-term pullback. You know, that's 900 days. This lasted 500 days. Assuming top in some time at the end of next year, that could be taking us between May 2026 to 2027. All right. But that's the perfect timing where we typically would imagine our crypto market bear market is, right? Crypto bear market timing perfectly. Just consider that, you know, I'm not messing around with stocks, by the way. I'm just looking at them as a compass of what to anticipate. And if it all coordinates, it gives me more confidence in my overall investment thesis. That's all. So yeah, we went over all of the stock market, my theory that if we start moving up a little ahead of time, especially into January, February, and we're already breaking all-time highs, then it really solidifies that I think we'll have a big correction in April into May, June of this year, 2024. All right. And the DXY is kind of primed, as I've shown you. It needs to... Excuse me 1 second. Let me pull this up. I don't know why this is lagging on the bar, but it's not lagging when I use the toolbox. Anyways, just consider this trend line. That's all I wanted to say. Consider this trend line, and now effectively we do need to mark this level right there because we could clearly see on the weekly closures that 106.5 is a strong resistance. That could be the bounce level that we deal with between now and the correction that I brought up. Something like this. Bounce, move up, and then finish off the cycle. All right, let's get into Bitcoin. And before I do that, I want to pull up a chart that I've shared with you guys before. I like this chart too, but I just want to quickly revisit this. All right. I'm really sorry if this is cut off. But I've already shared this with you. You can pull it up on Patreon or on the Discord post. It was from a update on October 24th, about a month ago. I shared this Wyckoff schematic and how here we have our top of the box. Here's the top of our box. You should be able to see that. And when I made this post, we were breaking out. And then I said that the next backtest levels should be somewhere between the 34K zone to 44K. And that's your preliminary support. So that was back here. And this little moment right there, let me show you in the charts. It's here. Okay, so that's somewhere between 44 to 48 if I really wanted to consider the extremes of the data, all right? Well, we're effectively going back to those areas. So I want us to consider now that we're about halfway through on this breakout. We are sort of chopping and we're in our final moments before making the next leg up. I think everyone could agree with me on this. We have a clean resistance level at 38K, obviously. Over 2 weeks of rejections at that level. So 1 second, let me get back to this cursor. So you can see here, we're on day 17 of getting rejected at 38K. That's big, but that means once we break above it, it's probably going to be an explosive move. It's going to send us straight into the mid 40s. That aligns perfectly with this zone over here called the golden pocket. So we have this 618 to 786. That's the range of the next big move for Bitcoin. And it's not weird to hit that before the third solar eclipse of the solar cycle. That seems to be kind of where we do it most times. So let me go back into prior iterations. So here we have our third solar eclipse. We blasted through after that. That was also a way earlier cycle. Most don't consider this cycle. Now we have over here, we have getting into our golden pocket area before our second solar eclipse. Here we got there perfectly on our first solar eclipse, but we can see that the solar eclipses do still play a major role in what's going on here. And one thing that seems to be pretty coordinated across the board is that we tend to get into this golden pocket area before the Bitcoin halving. So right here, it was right before the halving. Right here, it was well before the halving. Here, it was also right before the halving. And that's one thing to keep note of. So if we're getting a pattern, just keep it in your minds. It's more than likely that we get into this golden pocket before April of 2024. We're pretty much right there, though. Bitcoin would only need to go up 6% to effectively get above this 618. So I want you all to consider this right now, that we are perfectly following what we've done in the past by having Bitcoin have its second solar eclipse of a solar cycle. And then following a lunar eclipse, our next full moon, we are trading higher than that lunar eclipse. Well, we had the lunar eclipse daily close at 34K, and today we're at 37. So unless Bitcoin was to fall, 10 or 11% in the next couple hours, we're just going to be following the same thing we've done in the past. So we've had so many things in so many stages, smaller stages of this overall pattern that are fitting perfectly like a puzzle. And this is where we need to consider that this solar eclipse and lunar eclipse cycle stuff is probably the most valuable and useful and profitable way of looking at crypto when it comes to the big overall movement and swing of this market. We also have a lot of negative and people disregarding the halving as part of all of this talk. And I'm kind of just getting to the point where I won't talk about it too much anymore. A lot of you know where I stand on this. I'm looking at this esoterically. So I'm really looking at the eclipses and overall energy of the market from that lane. But let's just watch how this next halving goes. I can't wait till we get there, because there's so much of this, like people just disregarding that it plays a role in what's to come. So anyways, I don't want it to become this I told you so thing. It is what it is. It's far enough away now that we just have to wait. But we've been watching this market do almost the same thing every cycle. Tops out in Q4, 4 years after it tops out in Q4, then 1 year later exactly hits a bottom, exactly, then rallies into the solar cycle every time. Come on, man. People need to understand that these halvings were pre-scripted in. That's it. They were pre-scripted in. Okay, so we have one other thing to mention, and it's the significance of this breakout, all right? Because we had two key rejections over here at 25K in August, 25K in February. And then effectively this breakout right here, which led to this double back test of the same level right there in June and again in September. And not just a 1 day back test, like we're talking about weeks of trading on top. That's a month. This was exactly 1 month of trading perfectly at that 25K level, proving it as a support and then breaking out again. So we've effectively had a breakout of the resistance, 2 back tests before another breakout. Everything is bullish about this. Okay, so I want people to notice that this breakout above 38K, this breakout to where we're at right now really solidifies that we're in the recovery into a new bull run. And if we were to start trading above 38K, which is our current resistance, and into this golden pocket, well, that would really make us confident that we're heading into our last impulsive move before having what could be a very noticeable correction. So I want to explore that really quickly with you, and then we'll move on to Ethereum. In my truth, I believe Bitcoin is going to be moving into about 46 to 48K, potentially 49 for Satoshi's 49th birthday, right around that time frame. And then we should have a pretty dramatic pullback. And this pullback could be 40 to 50% if we want to consider the extremes. And I want you to think that from 50K down 50%, if we were to really pull back all the way there, we would pretty much still be in the higher low structure. So we've seen this happen many times where when we break out into the golden pocket, look at this really sharp correction. So we broke out into the golden pocket, got to the 702, boom. Within 3 days, this was a 50% correction. Now into this cycle, we see moving into the golden pocket right here. Boom, same thing, 30% just in about a couple days, really. And then the finality of the move came in, big shakeout. But still, we were bought right back up to the same level it originally tested within 24 hours. So you see that was the original deeper correction, 30%. We had a little bit of a bull trap essence, followed by another big shakeout, but look at how quick that was. And then we were right back there trading it as a support for the next month, and then we just kept it moving. All right. So what I'm saying in plain, this is the one anomaly cycle. It's really hard to tap into this one to look forward because the C19 event was very special, and it was timed accordingly, 222 months after 9/11. We don't have anything like that coming up soon. Now, could we have a very dramatic pullback in the stock market? Absolutely. Could that be timed with a pullback with Bitcoin and crypto? Absolutely. But do I see it going down to the 236 fib or even lower, like a double bottom? Not likely. It's not likely that we see Bitcoin breaking into 22, 21K. Not at this time. I mean, and if it happens, still look at the speed of the recovery off of that correction. I mean, you have between crash day and us buying back was in a week. So whatever it is, it's opportunity. It's not really getting into the whole like it will never happen thing. It's just, is it likely, right? So I want you guys to consider this, that in all iterations, we typically move into this golden pocket right here. We could see moving to the exact top of the golden pocket, followed by a pretty deep correction. And this one was sustaining, but we have to consider where the halving was with the solar cycle and all of this other stuff we've been taking into consideration. We have this third solar eclipse, and by the time of that third solar eclipse, we pretty much got moving after that. So we know that ours is April 8th. Buying the last dip around April 8th is probably the best it gets. And where we are trading at today on Bitcoin might actually be higher than those levels. That was a big reason why I bought up on the day of the solar eclipse, that 26K Bitcoin, just because it was right around the 382 fib. And I shared that over on Discord with everyone. At this time, buying Bitcoin at these levels, it's kind of you're playing it pretty close to its local top, but not the all-time high. Buying today versus all-time high is still a discount. And it also depends on where you're at with your net worth, your cash flow, everything. Be holistic about this. Okay. So if we were to make it up to about 47K and have a 40% pullback, you'd see that we'd be getting into about 28K. So I just want to share this with everyone. We can see Bitcoin go up to 48K, then right back to 27K in 48 hours or 4 days. And then in the same week, it could come right back up to 35. So if I can get a cleaner chart, I could kind of draw this out for everyone. I think this might be it. Bellissimo. So we're kind of looking at it like this. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put a vertical line right here on the date. Doing everyone a favor right now to give you a visual. That's probably how it's going to go. Whatever the dip happens, it's going to be like this one we got over here. You see, this moment was when Silicon Valley Bank failed. If you were to take the measurements off of what I'm considering, it would be a pullback of about 40%. Slightly above the 382 fib. Maybe we even get a wick down to the 382 fib. We hold structure overall. Another thing we could consider is if we were to turn this into like a weekly chart and put it on area. No, I don't know. But I think that this could be helpful just to take a trend line like that and show you that if we break below this level at any time, that's going to signal a probably pretty substantial drop. Okay. So take that into consideration. And if we bring up candles, yep, that makes a ton of sense. And then to get back above it by Q4. Keep this in mind. I think this is a really solid outlook on how this can go, personally. But we won't spend too much time here. I do need to do some traditional analysis. I know you guys enjoy the more free-flowing, weird analysis, but we are professional traders and technical analysts at the end of the day, so we have to look at things for what it is, for what the charts are telling us. So Bitcoin looking really solid right now on the weekly. I'm going to be pulling up some moving averages and just see what's up. We're about to have this 55 cross above the 200 exponential, looking very, very solid. It would get us more back into a bullish posture. On this weekly close, pretty much we're holding this line, but it's obvious resistance at 38K. We have this, all of our key moving averages quite beneath us, even the 8 simple moving average at 33 at this time. It would be very weird to see Bitcoin correct all the way down to 33. Unless we get something in like the first week of December, there'd be nothing weird with that. Although I think by the full moon of December, we would be bought back. So if that's the opportunity, then great. Let me get to that 5-day chart. Okay, good. Now we have on the 5-day, we've gotten above the 200 simple moving average. We've seen the 55 cross above the 200 exponential. That was a clean support level. If you look at this white moving average, how long that was a support for, 220 days. So this is looking in a very bullish posture. And as all these EMAs start to cross above this 200 simple moving average, that's going to make the 5-day chart look amazing. The only thing about the 5-day chart is we're starting to get into overbought. It's a little bit too soon, but that's how like this type of phase ends anyways. It does look a little bit like parabolic sharp top. Anyway, I think this looks very bullish. I mean, there's really nothing to say negative about this. All EMAs and moving averages are in a bullish posture, all sloping to the upside. This 200 is settling out. We've broken above it effectively about a little bit less than a month ago and started to treat it as a support thus far. It's sitting around 34. So what this really does is by the time we get into like May, a lot of these trend lines are going to be, especially this 200, I want everyone to consider, because look at over here. This was the end of your automatic rally phase back in 2019. We perfectly tapped on the 200 exponential moving average before having this moment, this little bull trap, and then your black swan. But your black swan didn't last too much below that. Yeah, here it's too new. But the data is interesting on the way that these 200s act on 5-day, weekly, 2-week, monthly, 2-month charts. When you're looking at stocks, totally, you guys know what I'm saying. When you're looking at crypto, it's a little bit rough because we just don't have the data yet. There's not enough years of trading. So only reason I bring that up is because it's sitting at around 28 right now. And remember, I just explored that level before, that if we make it up to this 46, 47, 48 and keel over, we could wick down to those levels. And I would definitely be looking at the 55 simple moving average because we know for a fact that that has been a support level. And where that's at today is right around 28K, 29. It'll slowly rise over time too. It'll probably get us to the 30s. What would be really amazing is seeing these two key moving averages align with these two tops around 30, 31, because that's where I would personally be buying Bitcoin again. If we get that deeper correction into May, let's just say June, I think that would make the most sense because you're buying around prior resistance, and that's back testing to get confirmation of support. Let's look at the 3-day. 3-day looks amazing. So the 3-day is 100% bullish posture, 8 above the 13, above the 21, above the 34, 55, 200 exponential, 200 simple. Can't complain about that. It's gorgeous. Can't complain about that. Yep. All right. Yep. what's there to say, right? So key level to consider is the 55 simple moving average, that also getting into the 30s soon. So right there on these prior to rejection levels, that's going to be very bullish because then if we have any future pullbacks, that's a level to consider. So it aligns perfectly with the 5-day analysis I just talked about. All of these moving averages are sloping to the upside. This 200 is about to stall, and that is really signaling the end of the bear market completely. Even though when you get into crypto, you always want to buy these 80 to 90% corrections no matter what. That's what we're seeing in a lot of the altcoins still to this day, by the way. Okay, let me move to the daily and just give my final thoughts. So we've already had multiple backtests on this orange moving average, the 21 exponential. We have seen backtests on the 34 during breakouts, and that today is sitting at the exact lows of the recent rejections. And what is a very solid support, by the way. So just take that into consideration that if Bitcoin does have a more dramatic pullback, this level right there of around 35.5 is strong. We have essentially a rejection there, double, and then coming above it, back testing it twice. Having one more test around that level wouldn't be weird, especially in this alignment of the 34 EMA, and having one touch on the 34 followed by a closure above the 21. And especially the 8 simple moving average on the daily, would signal completion of the short-term correction and anticipation to move forward, to move up. And we're back. We even made it into 51 RSI on the daily, technically, 52 RSI. So this is good. Yeah, the RSI is resetting as we speak. It would be great to have one last full moon pullback, maybe to 36, 35.5, something like that. And then, yeah, just continue. So I'm going to leave it at that for Bitcoin, and I assume ETH is very similar. Yep, okay. So ETH effectively looking the same. We have our supports in perfect alignment with the daily 34 EMA. So that'd be great to see, because if we start to close below the 34 EMA, that's always a signal that we're going to drop deeper. And holding the 21 is always very bullish. And if we're really moving into like full bull mode, then if it just holds this 21 EMA, that's great. And the same thing goes for what I just shared about Bitcoin. But lately we see this 34 play a big role. So it's nice that we're holding this 2000 level. You know, I think it's about time. This triple rejection at the 2000 level is quite bullish, actually, because it's like a triple top vibe. We talked about this in the last podcast as well. And this is sort of the setup for us to move into what would be called a SOS, a sign of strength, which follows by a backup. So this is telling me that a very crucial level to consider on Ethereum is 1500 to like 1530, somewhere around there. Look at some of the drawings and see if we have any major trend lines to consider. Okay, so I have this pretty mapped out. I'm going to turn off this. And you can see that we have this 0.5 fib, multiple rejections. It played a role, this horizontal line. It's been playing a role since early 2021. And here we are. We're over 1,000 days on this resistance. It was a short-term support. Then we finally broke below it. And right when we broke below it, really solidified it as a resistance. And that would be the proper way of analyzing it. That'd be 560 days. Pretty long time. Getting above that would be really important, because then you'd start facing the golden pocket. And that's what you like to see when you're really moving into bull vibes. That would be this moment right here for Ethereum. And I think that it would be more like this vibe where we got like about a 30-40% correction. That would be in alignment with what I was sharing before with Bitcoin. It would be like a move up into maybe 2,800, 3,000 ETH, and then rejection back to the 0.5 fib. With that triple top structure, retesting it, that would be a crucial level. That'd be probably one of the best buying opportunity, last minute buying opportunities available until we start heading up. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. But a 10,000 ETH could very well be possible in the next cycle, especially if the market doesn't favor shitcoins as much, which it might, but we got to see. Again, that's so far away, there's no point of even spending any prana on that. So this is looking fine on Ethereum. Pullback zone would be somewhere around 1900. Let's look at XRP. A lot to say about this. Okay, let's get to this chart, but I want to show you what we're dealing with today. So we're following this fractal beautifully. We went deep into it talking about the 3-day 34 EMA. And that 3-day 34 EMA, God, this is really glitching a lot today. Sorry, guys. That 3-day 34 EMA, I mean, almost touched, barely. It's sitting around 47, the 34 EMA is sitting at 57 cents, and the low that we've gotten on, it's the same. It's literally the same. That might be the lowest it gets. And then any next pullback is still sub 60 cents. I'm giving the same thing I always say. It's not different than 57 or 50. It's just, why even worry about it? Come on. It's all the fucking same. So just consider that right now. Any of these last minute moves to the downside, I believe even today we got to 60 cents technically. And that's at the 34 exponential. We're seeing this 13 coil together with the 21 and the 34. That's a sign that it's slowing down. But we're holding higher low structure. That's looking really good. Let's look at this chart. Perfectly filled. So I'm going to get rid of these now because you guys have already watched that all come to life. We've already had the move to the downside here. Now, what we do see is there is this trend line support over here. We were holding it for about 2 weeks before we broke below it. Then we got rejected off of it and then again rejected before we made it into this move. Now, since we've started trading back around this red trend line, and that's sitting at around 60 cents where we just tested today, pretty much there. So yeah, I mean, there's not much longer that this opportunity is going to be around for, just letting people know. It's not much longer. A $1 XRP can literally happen this year, before the end of the year, like right after Christmas. When's our full moon this month? Our full moon is, the day after Christmas. Okay, cool. And, you know, full moons aren't like really bullish, full moons aren't really that bearish anymore because we're in a new phase of the bull run ever since we had our second solar cycle, a solar eclipse of the solar cycle. So don't anticipate them to be as dramatically bearish. We're clearly seeing that this time around too. Even though XRP did top out around our new moon and has corrected into this full moon, we could see it. There's no denying that. For Bitcoin especially though, I wouldn't treat full moons as too bearish on Bitcoin. It's in a different energy right now. So this chart's pretty nice. Let me check out this chart. Okay, another interesting take on things. I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to try to delete as much as I can so you guys can see what I'm seeing. We're going to go to a 4-hour chart. Okay, so I think this will be helpful. Last thing to share on XRP, we can see multiple rejections on this time and time again, and we've effectively broken above this trend line. Then we have this major trend line over here that's been in play now for, damn. Since our yearly lows, pretty much. January, the start of the year. So this trend line has been in place since the start of the year. So you see here, bounce, retest, bounce, retest, bounce again. Perfectly came below it. Rejection, rejection. Similar ones that we were talking about before. And now we only had a couple days below it. So when you're interacting with this major trend line, this is really the time to take action. You know what I'm saying? When we get extended above it, that's where you'd want to de-risk. When we go below it, that's where you'd want to accumulate. It's perfectly in alignment with everything that we shared before about back here when XRP was breaking out to 70 cents. I said expect a sub 60 cent XRP. We've gotten that. So really, like, it's all a zone of what, I mean, we're talking 5% plus minus. It's not really worth getting too specific here. All right. So I hope this helps people see clearly that we're really getting to these final moments of this back test, and probably by the second week of December, we should be moving out of it. So now we're going into quant. Okay. All right, so we're looking at quant, buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally. Now we're trying to find where this correction is over, and it's still in its process, because if we look at high, lower high, low, lower low, lower lows continuously. Over here, we spent about 40 days just chopping pretty low to the downside. The problem that I have with a chart like this is it doesn't have a lot of data. It didn't go through the C19 crash. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't make me super, super confident, but I could almost go ahead and assume that we did break out of this level right here. Yeah. Okay, so this is nice because if you look at where this all kicked in, it was about 300 days ago, and we've broken above it, and now we're holding it as a support. This means that if we could break this top right here at 164, let me put a marker, that would be your next big impulse. The only thing is you could double top on that impulse to this. So is there a lot of opportunity on quant? It's hard to say because with the chart, we just can't really prove that. You don't have enough data. And we have seen double top-ish or bull trap end of bull runs, which could mean that in the next major move for quant, it might only look like it might only stop out here. Sorry. I might need to reset my TradingView before making another video because this is horrible. It might only stop out here. So do something like this. And that's your bull run. And that's what XRP did the last cycle. That's what XLM did. That's what Monero did. That's what Dash did. That's what a lot of coins did. People were saying, oh, well, XRP did it because it was in the SEC case. Well, then why did XLM do it? They weren't dealing with the SEC. It's just a chart structure, okay? This is why during the last bull run, I was de-risking no matter what. First of all, I was very new to taking big positions and big plays in the market. So I was naturally more conservative. I don't want to be sitting on the sidelines in case it goes the other way, right? That's the way we've always talked about trading and market philosophy. It was up until crypto came around where everyone's trying to get 100x, and that's poisoning the mind. That's poisoning people's investment thesis. So I'm not saying that quant will only make it up to $400 and keel over in the next run. I'm just saying you don't have any data to work with. So don't get confident that you know where this is going. I mean, seriously, during this whole time of Bitcoin breaking out to almost 40K, look at where this thing is. It's effectively down. It's effectively down 50+% off of its AR target. So it's not following Bitcoin. It's following a Wyckoff schematic. And that's something to be weary of. With these types of structures. I mean, I wouldn't be banking too much on something that has this limited data. So I'm not trying to piss on people's parade here with this project. It's just be cautious. Don't treat it as if it's some sort of category winner, because it's not. It's a speculative play at best. Consider this trend line. It's about 300 days in the making. Maybe on this full moon, we get a little bit of a push down to 93. Then I would expect it moving up into, February, maybe March, back at this 160 territory. So there's a little bit of a move there. There's about 100 to 150% that I could see that swing being. But yeah, I'm not sure if this thing has the juice that it will have in the next bull run because it just launched at the right time and was in the right place when we're talking about back here. Great though, made about a 10x. Let's move on. Oh, and also I'm not investing in this thing. Also, I don't want to invest in charts that look like this. Unless I see a supreme opportunity, like buying down here, back testing this prior horizontal trading range, sure, that would have been great, but we're not there right now. If we got back there, sure, maybe. If we saw this thing just fucking crater down to 40, I would consider taking a position, but that doesn't mean I will. I'm just letting you know the way I'm analyzing it. That's what I want you to know. So we're looking at Telcoin. Okay. Wow, this thing made another lower low. Fuck. So on the solar eclipse, literally, this thing made its low. Its year low. That's not good. Yeah, horrible chart. Okay, so we have the everybody had a bull run phase, then effectively down 98, almost 99%. Still kind of having a battle with this 236 fib. Here was your C19 moment. So this is effectively up about 2,000% from there. So if you got in on this project in 2020, right before 2021, then that's fine if you're still sitting on it today. But the way that this has been trading comparatively to Bitcoin is actually pretty sad. Unless you've been really just swinging this boy around. I mean, yeah, this is lacking. All right. Now we've been about a year on this resistance. So keep that in mind. That little chop level over there is telling me a story. Maybe I need to turn this setting off. Can you just stop? That level over there is telling a story. So if we clear that and get above the 382, remember what I teach you guys, above the 382 is your automatic rally. So as long as you're below it, that's not really a crypto AR. Even though I'm sure in Wyckoff, he would just look at it as anything that's rallying over your prior resistance levels. The only thing about that is you have to wait for data. But now we have computers and we have this Fibonacci retracement tool, which didn't exist back then. So you can kind of look at it from there. Although Fibonacci is very old, you know, and those who use things like GAN, etc., like there's plenty of methods to determine where you would want to consider your relief rally, which is more like a bull trap, right? An interim bull trap within an overall bigger cycle. So yeah, I think we're pretty much pressing up against that level, which is showing that this, oh God, you know, I know this doesn't look as bad, but like this was 180 something days of just chop to the downside. So this is probably the bottom. Yeah, this is probably as low as it gets. A real Wyckoff would probably say this is your buying climax, selling climax AR spring. And now we're heading into SOS, and SOS would be confirmed with a break of this 003 level. That'd be like a real Wyckoff way of looking at it. He wouldn't consider the 0.5 in the golden pocket. That's my work. But that's what worries me about this next cycle is this assumption that everything is just going to go fuck into the 4.236. I think that get that out of your mind right now, you know? And first of all, if we're ever going to entertain that, make sure we're talking about on a linear fib pull, not log. So yeah, this is horrifying. So yeah, I mean, watching it go from here to 30 cents, I don't see that happening. Sorry, I just don't. Not in the next. This next cycle is going to be different in many ways for the altcoins. But we'll get to that another time because right now we're here, we're not there. I'm going to wrap this up on Telcoin. We have maybe a rejection back to this level. Maybe. All right. But I don't know about that right now. We probably got it already over here. And it's this 236 that we're interacting with. We could trade on that 236 until Bitcoin starts to make a move. And then once we start breaking effectively into this level right there, where you can see all these rejections, then, you know, this thing can make a quick move to the 0.5 fib. That would probably be in alignment with Bitcoin getting into the 40s. We're looking at WatersAbove. I don't have an idea what this is. First time I'm ever oof. Okay, first time I'm ever looking at this. Got to get my composure. Do we have a year? We have over a year. We have 3 years of data. 3 full years. This thing's been chopping. Mamma mia. Okay. Whew. All right. Yeah. 98%. Okay. I just don't even want to look at the past on this because it's too distracting. Great. So this is looking cleaner now already. Oh yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally. We've had our back test. This is kind of like holding as a support zone. The 236 typically does after a automatic rally. So we've effectively backtested once, twice, and then collectively for about 40 days on the 236 before breaking out again. So that's check, check, check. That's really nice to see. We've gotten above the 382 again, and we've even slightly made it above the prior yearly high. So that's looking good as well. And this thing is primed and ready to move into the golden pocket. So the next big move on this is this territory around 10 cents to 15 cents. And then I would anticipate it having about a 40 to 50% correction after that. So it looks something like this. Don't look at the timing. So what this idea is that we have one impulse into this golden pocket territory. Then maybe we fake out again, get back to the 236 on this inverse head and shoulders move, and then we have a move up. And now where this bull run could go, it's hard to determine again, because like the last project, we just don't really have the data. This wasn't trading before the C19 crash. This wasn't trading back in the 2018, 2019 cycle. And it's been effectively sideways since its genesis. It didn't really break until bull run. So it's in price discovery right now. But it's in a neutral price discovery. It's better than being in fucking price discovery to the downside, which we've seen quite a bit lately. So just keep that in mind. This, if I was to look at this whole chart from the past, it's kind of distracting, but words of wisdom, zoom in. Sometimes you need to zoom in when you're looking at new projects. I know we typically say zoom out, but on this, you would just be like, ugh, and I feel like once I zoomed in, got it together, stopped, reacting and just drew out my fibs. Look at this major trend line support we have. Also, this double top sort of rejection essence, but considering that this thing has already had a 98% correction and it's been making higher lows and higher highs since, low, high, lower, higher low, higher high, higher low, effectively a higher high. In the micro, it's looking fine. So in the micro, this is looking fine. Now, is this an opportunity for me? Nah, I'm not interested. Not interested. It's 200, 300% perhaps. And entertaining all-time highs is not really in my analysis right now on something of this essence. Is it possible? Absolutely. But yeah, I wouldn't play with this. I'm going to bank my venture capital and stuff that's a lot more likely to be a part of the future. Oh my, we're looking at XYO. Now, okay, remember before I was talking about price discovery to the downside? This is it. So that's where the coin launched, and it's been effectively lower than launch price for 2 years now. So this is no bueno. Este no bueno. This is a fib pull in log, I hope. Yeah, fuck. So from launch down, yeah, it's just been losing value since it was created. Ultra speculative, be weary of stuff like this. It's effectively way below the 236. Now, the only thing I could say is if we were to call this the major level to consider, we know because its launch price back tested immediately after the short spike, immediately after everything topped out in the end of the bull run. In the last cycle, then we had about 70 days of interacting on this line before just cratering to the downside. That could be your buyback zone. And then, yeah, I mean, it's not the most amazing, but for those that are in this shit and you've been accumulating over the past year, because this is January 2022, 2023 right there. If you've been accumulating here, then there is an opportunity to get the hell out of this. I'm not trying to give people advice, but it's scary. There is a little bit of symbolism though. With XYO, we have this hexagon. We know about the Project Hex. I mean, dude, these charts have gotten fucked. Like all these Saturn projects, even Chainlink. Chainlink has the hexagon. Chainlink was hella boring and bearish for a minute. Look at this. We see Link, it lost 90% of its value, but then it traded fucking sideways for 500 days. Like just chop, 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 chop. It just broke out. Okay, so these Saturn coins didn't have the greatest jubilee. Also, remember, Bitcoin is not a Saturn coin. Satoshi is Saturn. Satoshi makes the coin, okay? It's like the idea of Saturn, which could very well be his father, Uranus. But that's a totally separate, kind of story. Getting back to this, We have the Saturnian symbolism in XYO. We've had a 96% correction since launch, perpetually going lower and lower and lower every single week since it's been created. And every move it has to the upside is super violent. Like you look at this, boom, boom, over here, just 2 days or so, just crazy bullish for no reason. Look at this, straight lines, and then it goes down. So this thing is moving like a very immature, it's just like it's like a brat, like a bratty kid. You wouldn't be putting all your money into this for sure. So I can't really say anything positive. I would say if anyone looks at charts like this, don't invest. You get worried about this sort of stuff. So at best, maybe we can make it up into this 500% move. That would be a very substantial opportunity, of course, considering what the way the stock market moves. But I hope that you'd be considering de-risking on these types of moves. And it hasn't proven itself to make a sustainable upside move ever. It's only been a quick, sharp move rejection with more downside. Okay, so be wary on this stuff. I will be sharing very soon potential buys because we're around this full moon. We have tomorrow the full moon. I talked last week about VeChain, Theta, Zilliqa. I'm not going to be probably getting into Link at this time because it's already started to AR. Matic was looking good. HBAR also looking good. So we have HBAR, Matic, VeChain, Theta, Zilliqa, and even ADA is still below the 236 opportunity. Those projects are more than enough to build a solid venture capital bag for myself. I was very transparent about my venture capital and how I'm allocating it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Appreciate and grateful for every single one of you and wishing you all a beautiful rest of your holiday weekend. And last update, if you have taken advantage of this Black Friday sale, I just want you to know, very grateful for your support. I'm not going to be doing a sale next month, most likely, because I plan on releasing a new project. You guys have been hearing me talk about it. I'm going to be working very hard over the next 3 to 4 weeks on getting that prepared for that moment, for the good old end of the year Christmas holiday timeframe. And I wanted to let you guys know about that. I'll be sharing more updates as we get closer. With that being said, wishing you all a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.